Then on Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up here in Week 8 of this 2021 college football season. And it'll be over the USC Trojans and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Crucial matchup for each of these teams going into Week 8. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. USC lost to Utah in their last game, 26-42 was the final score there. Obviously just a tough loss there for USC. And I mean, this is a football team that many expected to potentially win the Pac-12. I expected them to be a big contender for that as well, but so far, I really think this team is underachieved. Like, this team has got the talent to win a conference title this season, but we just have not seen that team perform to their level quite yet. But they're 3-3 and still in contention for, a decent bowl game. So there's still a lot to play for here for the Trojans, even though they're 3-3 right now. Notre Dame is currently ranked 13th in the nation, coming off of a big win against Virginia Tech. 32-29 was the final score there. And solid win. Virginia Tech, that's a good football team, and Notre Dame went in and got the win like they should have. They are 5-1 with a one-game winning streak heading into this matchup. Game will be on Saturday, October 23rd, Notre Dame, Indiana. So you do have the Fighting Irish here being the home team for this matchup, and it'll be at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Spread currently has Notre Dame by 7, over-under is 58, and your ESPN FPI is also going with the Fighting Irish here, 77.3%. So, as expected, Notre Dame is the favored team, but it isn't a very large spread here. 7 points isn't too wide, so USC is expected to potentially contend in this game, that's for sure. Series history, Notre Dame leads at 47-36. Win streak is Notre Dame by 3, and in the last 5, Notre Dame leads at 4-1. So, in recent history, Notre Dame has had more success in this series here, as they've got a 3-game winning streak here, and obviously in your last 5, Notre Dame has won 4 of the last 5. Stat comparison for this matchup, USC's got 32 points per game, then 27 points allowed, 318 pass yards a game, 129 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 233 passing, and then 148 for rushing. As for Notre Dame, 31 points per game, 24 points allowed, 270 pass yards a game, 97 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 237 passing, and then 125 for rushing. So obviously Notre Dame, honestly, both these teams are pretty heavy in the passing game. Obviously, you got 2 very good quarterbacks here with Jack Cohn on the Notre Dame side, and then of course you got Kedon Slovis on the USC side, which, Kedon Slovis going into the season, I expected to be a top 10 quarterback in the nation, and he's performed well. He's certainly one of the better quarterbacks in the Pac-12, but 318 pass yards a game is that's very impressive out of him. So he's definitely a huge impact player for USC right now, and he's a big reason why this team is at the level that they're at. Obviously this team is underachieved in some areas, but in the quarterback position, this team is looking great. Some recent matchups for each of these teams as well. USC, of course, they lost to Utah there, 26-42, and a tough loss to Oregon State, 27-45. That was just a terrible loss there, to say the least, for USC. The Beavers are a good football team this year, but a 27-45 final score is not a good score at all, especially when you're facing up against a team that, is pretty beatable. And, of course, you lost to Stanford as well, 28-42. And, by the way, all 3 of those losses up there are all in home games for the Trojans, which is very interesting. But on the road, they've done just fine. Beat Colorado 37-14. That was a road game in Boulder, and beat Washington State as well, 45-14. So, on the road, this USC football team has been excellent, but at home so far, obviously based on trends, not so good. So who knows? We could see a big win out of USC here, considering how well they've done on the road. But for Notre Dame, they beat Virginia Tech 32-29. Obviously, tough loss to Cincinnati there. Bearcats are a very good football team. They certainly could be in the college football playoff, but yeah, Notre Dame did lose that game by 11 there, 13-24. Beat Wisconsin 41-13, beat Purdue 27-13, and that win is definitely gaining value considering Purdue just knocked off Iowa, and you also beat Toledo 32-29. That should not have been a close game. It was. And that's kind of what was concerning out of Notre Dame, especially heading into that Wisconsin game, was, they were winning their games, but they had a couple of really questionably close games. So, obviously for Notre Dame, this is a football team that's played a lot of close games. Even Virginia Tech last week, 32-29. But I still believe, this is a very talented football team with plenty of potential to maybe even get to a New Year's Six bowl game. That's still definitely within reason for Notre Dame, especially, if Cincinnati can get to the college football playoff, that'd be a good thing for Notre Dame because it increased their chances of getting to a New Year's Six bowl game. Some key points here: USC, of course, being 3-3, disappointing season so far to say the least, but this could be a big momentum shifter here for the Trojans. I mean, if you can get a big win over a top 15 football team and a team that has got some quality wins on their schedule, like this could be huge for USC. So there's a lot at stake here for the Trojans. I mean, even if you take a loss, I mean, you go to 3-4. So obviously that's not a very good look. But yeah, Kedon Slovis, he's shown his potential in the past few years, and I really think he's going to be a huge impact player here. And we've seen, I mean, how the level that he can play to. So definitely be aware of that. Notre Dame's still in contention for a New Year's Six bowl game, no doubt. I mean, this is a football team with still a lot to play for as well. I mean, this is a crucial matchup because of that. Both teams have got a lot to play for here. They've got the home field advantage as well here with the Fighting Irish. And, I mean, they got a few close games, but yet a few solid wins without a doubt. I mean, that Wisconsin game, Wisconsin is not a very good football team this year, but that was a very impressive win at the time, and it still is. I think the final score is 41-13. So, I mean, yeah, Notre Dame, very talented football team here. And, I mean, they've got some quality wins on their schedule. I mean, this will be a tough team to beat for USC, especially going on the road. But that said, let's get to the prediction here for USC and Notre Dame. Going to go with Notre Dame in a close one. 31-23 is my predicted final score. I think it comes down to the wire, and in the end, Notre Dame gets the win by 8. So I think USC, I mean, they'll score a couple of field goals for sure in this game. Notre Dame, obviously, I mean, this is a football team that has played pretty well at home. So I think Notre Dame gets the win 31-23 here. Probability 60% towards the Fighting Irish. And your over-under is 58. I'm going to take the under here for this matchup just slightly, as I've got 54 total points as of right now. But yeah, Notre Dame, I like this football team. I think USC, I mean, once again, they've performed pretty well on the road. So, I mean, that could come to an advantage there. That could just be coincidental as well. But I think USC definitely keeps it close. It'll be much closer than that Oregon State or Stanford game for sure. And the Trojans, once again, we've seen the potential of this football team. Like, they can win big games for sure. We just have not seen that yet. So, I mean, this could be a huge win for USC. He could really turn around the trajectory of this program, and it would be huge for this USC football team, and it would help them get to a better bowl game as well. But got to go with Notre Dame here, though. 31-23 is my final score. Let me know your thoughts and comments below, though, on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys all watching. As always, stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.